From the very first moment I opened my eyes, I thought my life would be filled with love, care, and guidance. I believed my family, especially my mom, would always put me first, no matter what. I believed that no matter how difficult life got, I would always have a place where I belonged, where I was cherished, and where my happiness mattered. But life has a way of teaching us lessons we never saw coming. I never imagined that the very person I trusted the most would make me feel like I was invisible, like my dreams and feelings didn't matter at all. It all started with a simple sentence from my mom, one that I will never forget: "You're not a priority." At first, I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was stressed, or maybe she didn't mean it in the harsh way it sounded. But as I grew older, those words echoed in my mind, shaping my feelings and my choices in ways I never anticipated. They became a quiet shadow that followed me everywhere, in every decision I made, in every relationship I tried to build, and in every moment of vulnerability when I wanted to be loved and seen. I remember the countless nights I stayed up crying, feeling abandoned not by strangers, but by the person who was supposed to be my safe place. She was always busy, always preoccupied with her own life, her work, or her friends, leaving me feeling like I was just an option, not someone worth her time. Birthdays, school events, small victories, all moments I thought she would celebrate with me, often passed with little to no acknowledgement, and each time, I tried to tell myself that maybe I was overreacting, that maybe she loved me in her own way, but deep down, I knew something was missing. That emptiness felt like a constant ache, a low hum in the background of my life that no accomplishment or distraction could silence. As I grew older, I started noticing how differently she treated others. Friends, neighbors, even distant relatives seemed to matter more to her than I ever did. I saw the way she would drop everything for someone else but would shrug me off when I needed her. I tried to confront her, to tell her how hurt I was, but most of the time, my feelings were met with indifference or frustration. I remember asking her once why she never seemed to care about my achievements, about my happiness, and she simply replied, "I have my own life to live. You'll understand when you're older." That one sentence felt like a door slamming shut on my heart, as if the person who gave me life had decided I was unworthy of attention or love. I tried to fill the void in other ways. I sought attention, validation, and love from friends, teachers, anyone who would notice me. I worked hard to excel in school, thinking that maybe if I was successful, my mom would finally see me, finally recognize that I mattered. I pushed myself to be perfect, hoping that perfection might earn me a spot in her heart. But no matter how many awards I won or how many compliments I received from others, the emptiness inside never went away. I realized that no achievement, no matter how big, could replace the love and acknowledgement I craved from my mother. It was a hollow victory, a temporary balm that could not heal the wounds left by years of feeling unseen. There were moments, however, when I caught glimpses of the mother I had always hoped for. On rare occasions, she would show affection, a soft smile, a word of encouragement, or a small act of care. Those moments felt like treasures, and I held on to them, believing that they were proof that she did care. But the reality was harsher. Those moments were fleeting, and soon enough, the coldness would return, the indifference, the prioritization of everything else over me. I began to realize that her love was inconsistent, conditional, and dependent on her mood or convenience. That realization hurt more than words can describe because it shattered the foundation of trust one had built in my own heart. High school was especially difficult. I felt like an outsider in my own home. My peers would share stories about their parents cheering them on at every step, driving them to practices, celebrating their accomplishments, and I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of longing and sadness. I tried to hide it, to smile and act like I didn't care, but every rejection, every moment I felt invisible at home, chipped away at my confidence and my self-worth. I began to question my value, my place in this world, and even my own identity. I wondered if I had done something wrong to deserve this treatment, or if somehow, I was inherently unworthy of love. Those thoughts haunted me, lingering in the corners of my mind like unwelcome guests. Despite all this, I never stopped hoping. I never stopped believing that someday my mom would realize her mistakes, that she would finally see me as someone important, someone who deserved love, attention, and care. I believed that love, even if delayed, could heal old wounds. I believed that family meant something, and that eventually, she would recognize the pain she had caused. But life had a different way of teaching me about love, responsibility, and consequences. It was after I graduated from college, ready to step into the real world, that the truth hit me hard. I had moved to a new city, pursuing my career, building my own life, and in doing so, I had become independent. For the first time, I was truly alone, without the comfort of family support, without the familiar safety net I had taken for granted. I realized that I had always relied on the hope that my mom would be there, but now, that hope was gone. I had to navigate life's challenges on my own, and the weight of her earlier words, "You're not a priority," came crashing down on me like a storm I wasn't prepared for. I faced struggles I never expected, finding a stable job, paying rent, dealing with health concerns, and navigating relationships, it all felt heavier because there was no one to share the burden. I reached out to my mom for advice, for support, for even a little encouragement, and once again, I was met with distance, indifference, and sometimes even criticism. It was as if those years of neglect had solidified into a permanent wall between us, and yet, through all the pain, I discovered something powerful, my own resilience. I discovered that I didn't need someone else to validate my worth. I didn't need my mom to see me as a priority to realize that I could survive, thrive, and find happiness on my own terms. Life moved on, as it always does. I built friendships, meaningful connections, and a career I was proud of. I learned to celebrate my own victories, to console myself during hardships, and to create my own support system when family failed to provide one. And it was during this time that something unexpected happened. My mom, the very person who had once told me I wasn't a priority, reached out. She wanted to reconnect, to mend what had been broken, to be part of my life again. But this time, the dynamic had changed. I was no longer the same person who had depended on her validation. I had grown stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. I realized that her regret, as sincere as it might have been, could not erase the years of hurt. I remember the conversation vividly. She apologized, her voice trembling, her words filled with remorse. She admitted that she had made mistakes, that she had failed to recognize my importance, and that she wished she could go back and do things differently. Hearing her say those words stirred a complex mix of emotions inside me. Part of me wanted to forgive her instantly, to embrace her as I once did, but another part of me was cautious, wary of repeating the same cycle of disappointment. I had spent years learning to protect my heart, and I knew that reconciliation could only happen on terms that honored my feelings and boundaries. Over time, I realized that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing the pain caused. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the hold that someone else's actions have over your life. I chose to forgive, not just for her sake, but for my own peace of mind. I allowed myself to acknowledge the hurt, to honor my feelings, and to set boundaries that ensured I would never again feel like I was an afterthought. I learned that forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves, a way to release anger and resentment and reclaim control over our emotions and our lives. Through this experience, I learned invaluable lessons about love, family, and self-worth. I learned that being a priority is not just about receiving attention, it's about being seen, heard, and respected. I learned that sometimes, those closest to us may fail to provide that validation, and that it's up to us to fill that void with self-love and self-respect. I learned that regret, even when heartfelt, cannot change the past, but it can open the door to understanding, healing, and new beginnings. I discovered that we are responsible for our own happiness and that waiting for someone else to give it to us is often a path to disappointment. Today, my relationship with my mom is not perfect, and perhaps it never will be, but it is different, more honest, more mindful, and built on mutual respect rather than expectation. We have conversations where we acknowledge past mistakes, share our feelings without judgment, and work toward building a connection that honors both of our experiences. I have come to understand that people can change, that relationships can evolve, and that even after years of neglect, it is possible to find a new balance. I have learned to cherish moments of connection, even if they are rare, and to accept imperfection without letting it define my sense of self-worth. Looking back, I realize that the hardest moments of my life taught me the most important lessons. The pain of feeling like I wasn't a priority pushed me to discover my own strength, to embrace my independence, and to cultivate a sense of self-worth that no one else could take away. It showed me that while parental love is powerful, it is not the only source of validation, and that we have the capacity to create our own happiness, regardless of how others treat us. It taught me resilience, patience, and the ability to love without losing myself. There were days when I wished things could have been different, when I longed for the comfort of a mother's unwavering support, but those days also fueled my growth, my empathy, and my understanding of human imperfection. I learned to approach relationships with both hope and caution, to value those who truly care, and to recognize when it's time to step back from those who consistently fail to show love and respect. I learned that our worth is not defined by how we are treated but by how we honor ourselves in response. Now, when I think about the moment my mom regretted her words, I no longer see it as a moment of triumph or vindication. Instead, I see it as a reminder of the journey I endured, the resilience I cultivated, and the self-love I embraced. Her regret does not define me, my response to it does. I chose to rise above the hurt, to create a life filled with meaning, purpose, and authentic connections, and to never again allow anyone to make me feel like I am anything less than a priority, even if that includes the person who gave me life. I share this story not to dwell on the past, but to inspire anyone who has felt overlooked, undervalued, or unseen by those they love. It's a reminder that your worth is not determined by how others treat you, that your happiness does not depend on external validation, and that it's never too late to reclaim your life, your self-esteem, and your peace of mind, even when those closest to us falter. We have the power to rise, to heal, and to create the life we deserve. And so, to anyone listening who has ever felt like they weren't a priority, I want you to know this: your feelings are valid, your dreams are important, and your life matters. Don't wait for someone else to see your worth. Claim it for yourself. Celebrate your victories, honor your struggles, and cultivate relationships that nurture and uplift you. Because at the end of the day, the most important person to prioritize is yourself. And when you do that, everything else falls into place in ways you never imagined. Looking back, I can now say that being left alone, though painful, was a blessing in disguise. It taught me the strength I never knew I had, the resilience that carried me through every lonely night, and the courage to live life on my own terms. My mom's regret came too late to undo the past, but it served as a testament to the power of growth, both hers and mine. It reminded me that we cannot control others, but we can control our responses, our actions, and how we choose to shape our future. Through all the pain, the neglect, and the heartbreak, I discovered something profound: love starts with yourself, respect starts with yourself, and when you prioritize yourself, you open the door to a life filled with genuine connections, authentic joy, and unwavering self-respect. No words of regret from anyone, no matter how sincere, can ever replace the love you give yourself, the recognition you grant yourself, and the life you build with your own hands. And that is the greatest lesson I have learned from all the heartbreak, all the loneliness, and all the moments I once wished I could change.